Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is podcast episode number 9. Me, I have Robert Oliveira. He's going to be talking just a little bit today about himself, about his business, and we're going to get into it from there. So, Robert, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, man.
So I'm out here in Southern California. I have a sales organization. I've been doing solar personally for about 6 years. I really believe in it. There's a lot of bad companies out there that have tarnished the industry.
Mm.
And literally, I was with 6 different companies that were big companies that all went bankrupt. So it's really like the image of solar in California. It's a dirty word. So you can't come at it like everyone else. Otherwise, they're just gonna look at you like everyone else.
Interesting. And what got you into it, man?
Um, Actually, just entrepreneur stuff. Just kind of wanting to work for myself. Eventually, ultimately, that was the main goal, the main motivation behind it. I was I used to do grunt work. I used to do everything you could think of as far as just like working hourly, not ever getting anywhere. And I know I was never going to get anywhere working for somebody else. So I pretty much I don't have any experience as far as my backing and like I'm not academic. I learned by doing it all myself and it's hands on.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. So yeah, what I know you said you were working with a bunch of other companies previously. So what was kind of the situation there when you said something about like going bankrupt or like moving away from those companies? Like what kind of got you out of that and into the solar exactly?
So that was part of it. So solar, I'm talking about solar. So like the biggest installers in the whole nation all went bankrupt, like success, like back to back to back to back. So I've had to build teams and lose them, build them, lose them because the installers go out of business. The sales org, that's who's doing all the work. I'm just doing the sales for those particular companies. But like SunPower is the last one to give you an example.
Mm,
They were around 40 plus years. My biggest sales presentation was, hey, SunPower's not going nowhere. They've been around the longest, and then they turn around and file bankruptcy. Um, but that in another turn, I've got to learn on how what happens in those situations when the biggest objection I would get would what happens if the company goes out of business. I know the answer to that now because I've been through it a few times. SunPower, so another one, Titan went down right before that. They were the largest one besides SunPower. You ever heard of Titan?
I have
Titan,
not.
and then the Solstice is another one that went bankrupt. Shield Energy. So it's like I want to sell the product. I believe in the product, but the companies have been really a letdown in the industry.
So that's a good point that you bring up there. When people ask you what happens when the company goes out of business, what do you say there? Because I know like there's a lot of people who would quit when something like that happens. You know, they would just be like, "Screw this, throw in the towel, and go find something else." Like, what made you keep going?
Well, I believe in solar. I believe that they're out of the night, like the 10% of people that are really mad at it because they had a bad experience. 90% of people are really really happy they did it, and they're saving thousands and thousands of dollars. The thing about solar, the biggest objection I get is it's too expensive. I don't have money for that. Well, my answer to that is that's why you should do it.
Mm,
Because there's no money out of your pocket. All we do is take a payment you're already paying to the utility company anyway. You're donating every month, and we put that to a lower fixed payment that's not going to go up like the utility company. And
okay.
there's different options to do it. You can own it, and then there's also a power purchase agreement where basically the company owns the system, but you just basically just buy the power that comes off of the system. So you just have a fixed locked in rate. There's no loan, no debt. And the biggest one I would get with people that would be telling me that they're going to be moving. Great, the next person that buys your house is going to use power, and they would like to have a power bill that's a lot cheaper than everyone else in the neighborhood, so it'd help you sell your home.
What would you say is the like hands down biggest benefit for someone hopping on solar? Because I know it's a very big market. It's definitely grown a lot. Um, what I know there's probably people on the fence with the solar thing. Like what's the biggest selling point, dude, like the unique selling proposition with solar?
So right now it's the batteries in California. The NEM 3.0 made it so the buyback isn't like it used to be, where it used to be like a one for one credit. And then so how it work is they would give you extra solar. So because solar doesn't work at night. So you have enough to produce like at least 150% of your offset in the daytime. And then at nighttime, you would get those credits back that you gave the utility company during the day when you overproduced. Right now, they don't do that buyback the same way. They only buy it back for like 6 or 7 cents a kilowatt hour, and they're selling it for like 45 cents a kilowatt hour. So you just be giving them free power. So you have to store it in a battery. You store it in the battery so you can use that at nighttime.
Okay, I see. Um, that's pretty interesting, man. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk a bit more about was I know you mentioned when someone says like their biggest objection is I don't have the money for it, and you say, well, that's exactly why you should do it. I kind of do want to talk a little bit about sales because that's a big talking point. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's maybe new in sales? Well, first of all, what kind of like how long have you been in sales for?
I've I've been selling probably like over 10 years, 10, 12 years.
Okay.
But just different things. So like I've sold. I started out in telemarketing, working on phones, selling cable channels, right? And then it just kept escalating. I heard the one that solves the biggest problem gets paid the most money. And with solar, like somehow I got into it with my partner. She's a real estate mortgage broker, so I'm training real estate agents to add solar to what they're doing already. I'm not trying to get them to stop doing real estate. I'm just trying to get them to add because they're the perfect leeway into getting solar deals. Right now, people don't trust solar in California. They don't trust it because all these companies, like I said before, they would all went out of business, and people are like, "Wow, if a company has been around 40 years goes out of business like that, I don't. I'm just gonna wait." That's the biggest thing I'm getting right now. So if you have someone that they already trust you, you've already done transactions, big transactions like a home or a car or something like that. You get with people that are already doing high ticket sales, and you just have them add it to what they're already doing because it's really simple. You just keep solar simple. You're buying solar for a certain kilowatt hour, a price per kilowatt hour. Like usually it's in California, it's like 40 cents. Well, we're gonna lock you in at like say 20 cents. So you have your rate locked. But the thing about PPAs is they actually go up. They have inflation too. They go up like usually 1.9 to 2.9% per year. But utility company in California is going up like 10, 12% per year right now.
Wow.
And there's no money out of pocket to switch. There's no loan, no debt. What it is that Green New Deal. So these companies are taking that tax credit, and that's how they're paying for the system. So they take the tax credit, they own the system, and then you just buy the power at a discounted rate. And other states are different than California. They're not paying 40 cents a kilowatt hour, but out here that's crazy, and people are kind of immune to it right now. They're like, oh, my bill's only $300 in the summertime. Like, what do you mean your bill's only $300? There's people in Texas going solar when their bill's only $100 a month. And you said your bill's only 300, and you're not paying enough. People don't think they pay enough for it. They think the most of the time they don't think they think there's a catch, and
Yeah.
that's the hardest part to overcome. The only thing I have to overcome is trust. Once they trust me, then they'll just go with what my recommendation is usually. Now, a lot of times you got the analytical people. They're going to be hard. I've always had hard times. I'm not going to get racist on here, or racial, but Indian people, Chinese people, they're a different sell than say someone from America, right?
Yeah.
Um, and everyone, you just got to find out like everyone has the same pain. They all pay electric bill, but if we can show you a way to pay a cheaper bill, and then you have protection against the inflation that's happening, we don't even know what's going to happen in 5 years. They want everyone to go solar. The way that they want everyone to go solar, though, they're not going to tell you have to go solar, but they're going to make the rates go so high that everyone just does it. That's their plan. Ultimately, everyone's going to fall behind California, but right now, California is leading the way in the rates. Everyone here should have solar. I don't know why they don't. It's still only like a 7% market penetration, but it just comes down to like what companies do people trust, right? If they trust you and they trust your company, then you're good. But right now, I'm having a like I had a hard time after SunPower trying to get back in line again because mentally I was screwed up because I was so stuck on selling SunPower. They're number one, and boom, they go under, right?
Yeah.
So now I just got a couple installs with Ilum Solar. I'm working with them now, and they're very good. They're very good. So like right now I'm doing more research on who I work with. You can't just dive in with anybody because everyone will try to recruit you. But you
Yeah.
really got to see the Better Business Bureau. I mean, I know that's a scam, but it you can really find out a lot. You can find out a lot. Like if there is a problem, which there always will be problems in construction, do they fix it? And what are they doing about it? Like if you look up, say, another company like Sunrun, they're the biggest, right? But they have like 3,000 complaints and only solved like 50 of them, for the month. So it's just that's why I didn't want to go with Sunrun, right? Like I'm really trying to be really picky on who I go with because I have a lot of, like I said, the real estate agents and mortgage brokers. I train them, and once they're on board, then I don't have to go knocking doors every day like crazy like I do now. So that's how I generate my business right now, door knocking, because I can control that.
Yeah.
You have your KPIs, your key perform. I talk to 10 people. I'm going to get one appointment. Like I know what I'm going to do. But like every other way, Facebook ads, all this other stuff, it's just you got to pay money, and you don't know if you're going to get any return on your investment.
Yeah.
And it always comes back down to trust again. Do they trust? If you can make them trust you, then and like you, then make it make sense. Then you have a shot.
I I think especially with anything that's door to door or like cold call oriented, it's very hard to trust that person because they're like it, how you mentioned earlier, it kind of seems scammy, someone everyone thinks there's a catch
Yeah.
with because they come to your door and it just and I think sometimes things do sound really good to be true. So they're
Mm-hmm.
like, where's the catch? Where are you gonna get them? How do you help a prospect understand that there is no catch, that things
So
will be
so
okay?
that's a good question, and I actually get that asked to me, and my answer is, so why did you pick the utility company? Why did you pick Edison? I'll say, right? And they're like, I didn't pick Edison. I'm like, exactly. That's the whole point. You didn't pick them. You didn't have a choice. That's a monopoly. That's the catch. And then not everybody qualifies either. If you don't get enough sun, or if your roof doesn't qualify from structural or shading or credit, you might not even qualify. And if you don't use enough power, you might not qualify. So that's why I have to take a look at your electric bill. And I don't want to waste your time. I'll just grab your bill. We'll see how much you use. I'll take a look at your meter, make sure that's updated, and then I can bring by a report. What's the best time for you and your spouse? You just kind of because I don't sell them at the door. All I'm doing is trying to sell them to receive the free information. Because
Yeah.
at the door you're a pest, uh, inside you're a guest, right? So you got to get inside.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, man. I think a lot of people, from what I've heard and the people I speak to when it comes to door knocking, usually don't approach it that way. Or maybe they do, but don't say it overtly like that, where it's just like oh, well, I know if I knock X amount of doors, then I'll get X amount of appointments, and I'll do the inspection and everything right there, and I'll basically try to hard sell them the roof or the solar or whatever it is that you're selling door to door right then and there. And I think it's awesome to hear that, even in like the solar industry that you're offering free value up front before, people really actually commit to something. And I think that's just kind of that shows that you've been in the sales game for a long time. So I guess my question would be, since you've been in sales for a while and you understand it, like what would be some advice that you'd give to someone who either just started out in sales or are having trouble like closing sales? Like what would you say to someone like that?
I would say just keep going and get a sales process, whatever that is. Like you don't want to be jumping around doing different things and trying this script and this script and this person's script and putting it all together because you're never going to know what works that way. But if you stick to a sales process, like whether you knock on the door and you're a setter, at the moment you put your setter hat on, you're not a closer at that point, even though you know the close, because you give them all the information at the door. They're gonna think they heard it all. They're gonna say not interested. Thank you, right? But you got to have them a little bit of curious, like they might benefit out of at least hearing this, because most of the time you're knocking on their door, they're eating dinner, they're not even really. All they're thinking about is getting back to their table. They want to get rid of you, so you have to really grab their attention. Because a lot of times you could set an appointment if you don't grab their attention, and they won't even sit anyway. But I've had this problem where if I've tried to sell someone right there on the spot, like same day, I have like a 50 or 60% cancel rate because they don't
Yeah.
have a chance to get to know you, get to. But if you set an appointment, then you go back, then I show up for everything. So say there's a site inspection after I close the deal, they like it, they qualify, they sign the docs. I set a site inspection. I'm there on the site inspection because that's where I can tie up any kind of loose ends. You know, it's just if you just do it all wham bam, thank you ma'am, I'm all done right here, just get it all done right there, then most of the time they're going to cancel because they're going to feel like they got rushed. They're going to feel like they don't know what happened. They're not going to feel comfortable. But if you show up, like I find out reasons just to show up. Hey, I need to come by and take a picture of your meter, even though I don't have to. Just to try to, I give them a way out. I give them some rope. So because if they're going to get out of it, I want them to bring it to me rather than just cancel without me being around and I don't have a chance to save it. It helps I have a whole process where like my setter cap's on, take that off. Now I go back as the closer, and my conversation is different and my knowledge is different for each one of those. And then like today, right, they're doing an install. I'm out here taking drone shots, right? I'm advertising. I take little short videos, and then I'm gonna put it all together, and then hopefully I get like 3 or 4 more out of that. Out of each deal, I want to compound it and get 3 or 4 more referrals out of that. And then I tell everyone in the neighborhood, and if the guy that I sold, if he brings me people, I pay him $1,000 referral fee for every person he brings me. Sounds like a lot. People always wonder, like, if you're going to give away $1,000 for that, how much are you making off these deals, right? But I'm fair. If I'm making 5 to 10 grand here, $1,000 for the deals, that's a good deal. And that way, it's more motivating for them to bring more warm leads to me. Like I
Yeah.
said, those are warm. Those, like whenever a real estate agent sets you up or like a referral, those are like, if you don't close that at a 99% rate, you're not doing good.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is the ones where you're going to have like, a 30% rate. 30% is normal. So if you close like 1 out of 3 appointments that are qualified, that's like average. The good ones close like 9 out of 10, but then they have a little bit of higher cancel rate. It all just comes down to like your sales process. You got to have just do the same thing. Whatever your pitch is, it's got to be the same thing. You have to have an introduction at the door, like, hey, my name is, hey, I'm with this company. And then you have to have a short story, like, what's the story? Like, my story, keep it simple. It's for everything all around the country. I say the state of California is mandating more renewable energy projects. So you could qualify for 1 or 2 batteries to run your house during the high peak times. And then now what's going to happen is the solar panels are going to charge those batteries on a daily basis. So you run off your own little ecosystem. And the best part is you get a Tesla Powerwall 3 for backup power, and your rate's locked in. You're going to be protected from this inflation. That's my story. To keep it simple, if you say that over and over and over again, I mean, the numbers make sense. You just got to show someone $50,000, $100,000 in savings, like literally. And then you just got to overcome their objections. Objections aren't bad things. Objections are, you want objections to come out because that way you can make them feel comfortable and you overturn because any objection I get, I can overturn. Solar just makes sense. Even if you're going to move in 6 months, I could overturn that. But if they don't bring the objection to you, you're never going to know what's the problem. You're going to have people telling you no. You're not going to know why they said no. So that's also another reason why I love objections, because that way I can get them up on the table. I can make them comfortable, and then we can move forward. But if you don't get those objections, you're going to just have people cancel on you left and right and you're not going to know why, which is the most frustrating part of the whole thing. I like to know why they want to cancel. You got a better deal. Okay, great. What they give you? Because whatever they give them, I can come back and beat.
Yeah.
Like literally, I can beat anybody's quote. And in the company I'm working for, I'm confident now they're good. You're not going anywhere. So, but here's the thing. You asked me what happens if they go out of business. I know now because I've worked with a lot of companies that went out of business, and I have a lot of customers that I've had to help out still. Even though I'm not making money on these people, I feel like I'm liable to help them out because I'm the one that put them in that situation. And it's very easy. Like there's warranties, so everything's under warranty. Usually the finance company, whether it be a PPA or a loan, they're the ones in charge. So if the installer goes out of business, then the finance company has to get the account serviced, and you won't have a bill until that gets serviced. So people are protected if that happens. It's not the end of the world. They're just going to have another company that comes in and does the service. Finance company is the finance company. They don't. They're the same thing.
I like how I appreciate your answer, man. I think that you kind of nailed it um, when you talked about objection handling. And I know from experience, and I know like a lot of younger guys, especially when I first started out in entrepreneurship, like 2 years ago, uh, I used to get really nervous whenever it was time when someone would hit me with, I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my partner or my dog or fish or whatever. And my friends, I remember had those same problems too. And even some guys, I coach some people here and there. I know some people that have those problems. So when it comes to the objection time, and it's time to, you know prices revealed, someone has the objection. How do you remain confident and remain um, almost like on their side during the object when you're handling the objection, right? Like you're helping them get to that final 10 yards. Like how do you do that for someone? How do you help them in the objection time and
You
not?
have you have to ask questions. You have to ask a lot of questions. It's you make them come to their own decision that they should do it with you. It's not so much that you're trying to sell yourself. You got to ask the right questions to make them just realize it's a better way. And then the main thing is, like I said, if all comes back to the only thing you have to overcome on the doors is trust, because the numbers definitely make sense. Whether you want to do a loan or a PPA, you're still going to pay that money anyway. You're already paying the money. It's not like we're giving them a different expense that's going to cost more. You're not buying a car. You're not buying a new suit. You're getting something that you're already buying for cheaper.
Mm.
I think the problem with it is they try to make it too confusing. It's really just it's a simple thing. If it's done right, there's people are so happy like that do have it. But then there's that 10% that got screwed. That all these other people hear about those people that got screwed, and then they think it's the whole industry, and
Yeah.
it's not. And another way is to get more clients is like just be the solution finder. Don't so much, because I don't really just have one. I have multiple I can use that have different financing, different interest rates, different credit scores will approve them. Like I'm more like a broker. I like an insurance broker can go get you. They don't just work with State Farm. They can go get you rates from everywhere. So it's kind of like that. Um, but your question was, how do I overcome these objections? A lot of times you got to figure out if it's a real objection too, because most of the time it's a smoke screen. They're just telling you one reason, but it's actually a different reason. And the real reason they don't want to tell you because they think it might offend you or whatever reason, whatever it is, they don't want to tell you straight up. So a lot of these objections, like, oh, I'm not interested, those are smoke screens. They're just not real. They're not even real objections. When they start saying like, oh, I just don't have the money for it. Well, now, okay, that could be a smoke screen or a real objection. And my that's why you need to do it. That's exactly why, because that's why a lot of people are looking at this option because they don't have the money to pay these inflation. And you always got to bring it back to the utility company. How it's us versus them. And then you have these people that I have family that work for Edison. It's like, what are they doing? Are they giving you a discount? They give them like a 30% discount, like the care program. But the bills are still $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. And we can lock them in at like, say, 250, and that's your bill. So you're like, if you're the more power that the more money you're spending on power, the more money we can save you. And then I'll throw like a roof in there. So a lot of times I'll be looking for houses that need something, that need a roof. Like they're obvious, they got a tarp on their roof, they need it. So I go over there and I say, hey, there's a new program right now. where they can actually include the roof if you go solar, because the grid's so stressed out. There's programs we can actually throw it into the power purchase agreement, and you still save money on day one, and you get a $30,000 roof. But not everyone qualifies, and then you got to do a little takeaway, and then like you're solving a big problem right now because one thing they don't need solar because they're connected to the grid anyway. They can just buy power like they are already. But a roof, if it starts raining and they need a roof, they're going to know they're going to need to move on that quickly. And a lot of people do want solar, but they don't want to do it today. They
Yeah.
got too much stuff going on. So if you could just make enough urgency, make them curious, show them what's happening with the rates, because a lot of people don't even look at their bill. They don't even know what the rates are going up. They don't know how much their bills actually went up because they just have it on auto pay. Must be nice, right? But a lot of people are like that. They don't even know. They don't care. They feel like, like one guy. See, I didn't help him because his average bill was $60 a month. I don't even know how he have an average bill of $60 a month in California, but he's barely using anything, and he wants to continue like that. You can be like, hey, I mean, are you guys like really conscious about your power? Is it so expensive that you don't want to use it? That you're like just really careful because we can use more power. You can produce on site, use renewable energy, and actually live comfortably. And I'll come at them like that. It's not
That's an
always about
interesting way of looking at it.
saving, huh?
So that's an interesting way of looking at it. I wouldn't think of doing it that way. I would kind of, in my head, my thought process would be like, okay, you guys aren't using a lot of energy, but you're absolutely right. I mean, there are people I know from my experience. I mean, when I was growing up, my parents were always turn down the AC, turn off the lights, shut the door, you're letting in hot air. I knew that growing up, and I think a lot of people kind of grow up like that, where people are just so conservative on their energy, you know?
True, true. But now all these EV cars are coming into play. So
Mm.
people that had those bills before, now their bills are going to be like $200-300 because that's their gas now. And it makes absolute no sense to charge your car through your utility company because you're just using fossil fuels again. You're back in square one again.
Yeah. I know you had mentioned how people don't want to get solar today. They want to do it at some point, but they don't want to do it today. I noticed the best way to help someone take action on that because what happens is they're giving power to the decision. So the decision is can you hear me?
I can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Okay.
You good?
I can't hear you.
Ooh.
Oh, there you
Um
go. Okay, good.
good. All right. So I noticed that um when people say they need to think about it or they want to get it and not today, that it's usually a lack of power in themselves, and it's like they're casting the power onto the decision. So it's like I want to do it, but just not right now because the decision is too much for me at this moment. And I've noticed the best way to get good at something like that is being a person who makes decisions now and doesn't cast power to those decisions. And I'm sure that's kind of the same way that you've acted in your life as well, because I know you're like 10 years in, 15 years in, what would you say to someone who has a decision in their life that they need to make that they are casting power to, maybe consciously or subconsciously? What would you say to someone to help them be better in their decision-making process?
Why wait? Why? What's there to wait for? People think they're going to find a better deal, get this, get that. They might move. All these what ifs, but it's like if you've ever been in a relationship that you knew you should have ended, but you just stayed in it and you were happy when you finally did that. That's exactly how this is going to be. Because all we're doing is taking that money you're already donating every single month and putting it into where you either own it. It's like having a house. You pay off your house eventually. You don't have a payment, or we lock your rate in and it's a fixed inflation. Either way, either one of those programs is better than the program they're on now. So there's no point in even like staying with them any longer. It's already been too late. The best time to go solar was 5 years ago, but the second best time to go solar is today.
Mm. I can relate to that, man, with the relationship thing and like making decisions. I will say the best times in my life were the days that I made really hard decisions and it worked out. And I felt so good the next day. And that goes with like ex-girlfriends. Um, you know, the day I decided the day before was painful too. And I think that that money that you spend on the thing or the time you spend on the thing is tuition
Mm.
to learning what might have worked. Like for example, in my industry with marketing, some people have bad experiences with other marketing agencies, and that's the tuition that you have to pay in order to find the right one. And so it's important to make those decisions and not give power to them. Um, and I think you kind of hit that on the head is like you do feel really good afterwards, you know. What is like a just out of curiosity, like a fun question, like what is a decision that you've made in your personal life that you just felt awesome the next day after making it?
Mm, just for me, it's just following through on my things I promised myself. Like if I say I'm gonna go, knock from 4 to 8, like, and I write it down, and then I end up not doing that, I feel like I feel like off. I feel like I'm not doing. I have anxiety. But if I follow those little promises to myself, then even if it's small, like get up and I keep track of my food now. Like there's certain things all my KPIs, right? Fitness, health, finances. It's all and spiritual. So those four. And I actually try to rate myself every day on that, on
Mm.
on on how I'm doing in those areas. Because I think a professional operates at a 8 to a 10 on all areas at all times. But if your finances are good, but your family and your spiritual's off, you're not going to be right. Doesn't matter. Money won't solve all that. You know, people think money's going to fill the void, but you need to be operating on like a high frequency on all those areas to be successful. I think that's how I feel on it.
That's a good take, man. I can agree with that. Like I've noticed in my personal life, I think, when I first started or even just like when I was younger, it was always like I want to, make more money, be financially free or successful, whatever that is. And I know for my personal life, it wasn't until I got my fitness in shape, I got right with God and I got right with my family, that money actually started to pull a and my mind to focus. That was one of the big things was yeah, when you set those daily goals, I have them written down next to me. And I've had days where I write down those goals and I do them all. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of myself. And then I've had days where I write them down and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I decide I'm going to go get a sandwich with a lot of carbs in it. And I know I shouldn't have. And I think the worst part is when like, when you shouldn't be doing the thing and then you do it. That's the
Yeah.
worst. Like, I know I should not eat these carbs for breakfast because I will feel like crap the rest of the day, but you do it anyway. I think that knowing about it makes it worse than not having known your KPIs like that.
So yeah, I gotta also base my results off of not my not my not my sales, not my number of sales. It's my input and effort.
Yeah.
It's how much I put into every opportunity. Because sometimes I'll just give up early, and I'm like, what was wrong with me right there? But sometimes I'm really persistent. People will tell me no 10 times, and I get the appointment, and then I get the sale. So it's all mindset. It all comes back to mindset. Where's your mind at? Like that's why it's so important to like get in the right zone every day, every morning, do the same thing. I work out. We're creatures of routine, but like if you work for yourself doing entrepreneur stuff, then you have to make your own schedule and stick to it. Otherwise, you won't be successful.
Yeah. I always tell my guys and I tell my friends and even myself, um, the best way, like when I started like really getting results with like cold calling and door knocking and that sort of stuff, was when I just started looking at it as like that guy lives a completely different life than you. He's not taking it out on you. It's not your fault that, he's having a bad day. And so sometimes, you make the first three door knocks and everyone they're like the meanest people in the whole world. And that's when you want to quit right there. It's like those first three knocks. I've always come to find that like it's impossible to give up when your calendar's full. When your calendar's full, when you have a week full of inspections, you can't the idea of giving up is just not there. That's how it's been for me and especially my team is like, they know when if the calendar's booked, man, we're gonna keep rolling it. Someone has to show up for an appointment, it doesn't matter because they got 15 more.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, that's another thing. If I go to an appointment, they no show. I try to hit it the whole street and tell everyone, hey, I had an appointment with them. Um, they weren't able to qualify for the program. But if you qualify, lower your bill, whatever my intro is, I use that as a catapult to try to get more people right there. Like, and I like to stay in the same area too, because once they start
Yeah.
seeing you, they might tell you to. I have had dudes tell me f off, right? And then 2 days later, they see me walking by and they come out and apologize to me, and all of a sudden I'm inside selling them solar. So it's a timing thing. Also, it's not always about maybe right now they're dealing with something. Like we're all human, we all deal with things. Maybe his lady just left him, right, and took off with his boss or something, and like that's why he's so angry. And I get it. So we just gotta have empathy um, and until and actually I'll keep coming back until they tell me no too. They'll be giving me that attitude, that vibe that they don't want me to come back. But if they don't tell me not to come back, I'm still coming back. So it's
Yeah.
always got to be persistent.
That's how I do CRMs for the people that I work with and for myself is like it's set up to where if if they don't say no, like we contact them, but as soon as they say no, that's when we stop contacting them completely. You got to respect people for that. But if they're just having a bad day or they say, "Hey, give me a call in a week," sure, let's go ahead and set it up like that. And I think that's very important for sales teams, especially if you're doing any form of online marketing, because only like 5% of the people that come in from your ad are going to close. But
Yeah,
if you continue to nurture that relationship and they see your face and they see your YouTube videos and your emails and like they're going to eventually come around, but it takes a minute. You got to, and so I think it's easy to give up on that first guy or that first contact with somebody who isn't interested and then or interested that day particularly. They didn't say no. I think it's easy to just kind of give up on them. Now, I know earlier you had mentioned something about when you're the setter, you have to put on the setter hat and then
mm-hmm.
play the setting game and try not to go into closing. And I know from myself personally, and I know a lot of other people that struggle with this too, when you're on that initial call or you're on that initial appointment door knock, that it's really hard, especially when you know the close to stay out of that. So how do you prevent yourself from going into the close and talking about the features and benefits when it's
just
supposed
uh,
to be
just
time?
just follow my system. Follow my system. Any big questions like that they really want to know it, I take that. I'll write it down. I'll remember. I'll have a good answer when I come back. But that's not why I'm here. I don't even know if you qualify. So let's get the bill. Let me get that, and then we'll get that to my engineers. We'll get the report put together, and find a good time for you and your spouse. I could bring it by and answer all your questions. So just definitely write that question down. I'll tell them, but also there, have some more questions as well. I want you to make sure that we answer everything for you. But that's the main thing. If you give too much info, like because they're gonna be like, okay, I'm not interested, and they're gonna ghost you. If they don't have any kind of curiosity of a little bit, and then intrigue on why they incentivize on the appointment, they're not going to do it. They're just going to set the appointment and blow you off. So if you give too much info, I've always found out that I can tell because my KPIs, my hold rate goes way down. The more information I give them, the more my hold rate goes down. And I'll be lucky if I get 1 out of 10 to sit if I give too much information. But if I keep it very vague and very like, hey, we're gonna bring by the report, talk to you and your wife, like that's more okay, cool. And people just think it's more nonchalant. People don't like appointments either. When you set appointments, I'm gonna pop by and visit. That's what I say. I'll drop off the report to you guys. People don't keep appointments; they cancel appointments. So I don't call it an appointment.
Hmm. That's interesting, man. I've never thought about it like that. In the online space, it's a little hard to do stuff like that, but you're right. I mean, it is true that unless like you're an entrepreneur for the most part, or like an elderly lady who has nothing to do with her time, but it's usually written on a piece of paper, like on an actual calendar sheet on the fridge. Unless it's one of those two things, people don't like have a calendar with their entire day scheduled. I've come to notice that. Um,
True.
and so yeah, I can see because I know one time, like a long time ago, I did some calls for a roofer actually one time. This guy, he had gotten a list of homeowners and it was kind of weird. I didn't really uh I felt like it was kind of wrong because it's like we had pulled data from these people in an area and it was kind of off-putting to me because I was like, we're calling these random numbers and we haven't gotten consent from them. And so, you know, this could be a big problem, but he wanted me to do it and he said he'd pay me for it. And so I was like, screw it, it was in the beginning stages. And I remember we were booking appointments for them, and like not even 5 minutes after that appointment confirmation guy went out, those guys would send a text saying, "Look, I'm not interested. Please."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even carry business cards for that reason. Like I don't want them to contact me. I'm gonna be here tomorrow. I'll have to report. If you want to contact me, tell me then, because they're always gonna get out of it. Like that's if I do have a business card, I use Rep Card. It's a digital card, and that way it has little videos of my like introducing myself, but my company. It's a digital version, and also if they click on it, I can tell that they clicked on my card, and then that shows that they're interested or looking at my card. So that's when I would give them a call. Like even somebody I sent a card to 6 months ago, it'll let me know a notification if they look at my card. So then I can call and then hit them up right in real time, right when I'm thinking about it. So a lot of times it's just timing. Everyone's thinking about it. They all know they're going to go solar in California here, especially the rates are so high. It's timing. They're just not ready yet.
Yeah. I really like what you had to say about sales, man. I think that I can tell you had some good experience and some good lessons for some people. We are actually cutting in on time, and I
Yep.
just kind of want to go into the next little end part that I usually do. So at the end, I have a question from the previous podcast where they have a question for you, and then you get to leave a question for the next person after the podcast is over. So my question for you today is, what would you do differently if you had to start over?
I would. It's a good question. It's a good question. I think I could do it better this time. If we all would look back and be like, if I could live my life over again, oh man, I mean, I'm sure bad things would happen, but I would be great because I would know everything I did wrong. So, a lot of these things that I've went through that is nothing that you can be taught in a book. You can't be taught in a class. It's just you have to go through it to learn it. So I don't know if I would change much. I would change more of how I operated, more of how my mindset. Like I said, get on that professional level on all aspects of my life, not just worry about money, because that's kind of how I felt like money would solve everything. But if I'm at a 10 on all aspects, I'd rather be at a 10 on everything else and be at a 5 on money, because I think everything else is more important than the money. The money will follow if we have everything else right. So I don't know if I would change much, but I would be more active, and I would have more faith that everything's going to be all right. Because every time I lost a deal, every time I lost an installer, I lost multiple deals, and I lost my team every single time. So over the court, my solar career is only like 6 years long. That's like literally an installer going out of business every single year, and then I've lost over $1 million in commissions. So
Yeah.
most people that are sane would probably have quit and found something different. But I just believe in it. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe I'm on the right track, and I believe that I'm going through all this garbage for a reason to make me stronger. So I wouldn't change much.
I like that, man. That's a good way of putting it because I don't think personally, I don't think I would change much either. Like, you know, everything happens for a reason, and if I think God does a good job of putting things right. I've noticed that it's very easy to just pull money out of nowhere when you really need it. You know, I think God has a good way of doing that. Whenever you need something, I feel like God always provides, and so I've found that to be a big motivator for me, and especially knowing the direction that I've gone in is that like he's showed me the direction to go since. And so yeah, I mean like I don't really like I'm not a big like let's play the what if game. I think it
Yeah.
happened the way it did, and if it happened any differently, then it wouldn't have worked. You know, so that's I really liked your answer, man. Um, where uh where can people find you?
No, they can find me on LinkedIn, uh, Facebook, Instagram. So Eco Home Solution, no S. I'm all over. So in California is where we're at right now, but we're going to open up in Missouri as well. So
Okay. And if you're watching this, his links will be in the description, so you can go check that out after this video. Robert, I don't have anything else to say, man. Do you have anything?
No, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. We should talk about the marketing later on, though.
Of course, man. Of course. Well, thank you for showing up to the show.
All right, brother. Thank you. You have a good one.